Hi, ladies. My name is Chilli Amar, and I thought it would be fun if we went all around the Zoom room and introduced ourselves, and then we're going to have Riley ask the first question to the panel, if that's okay. So I'm with 97.1 Wash FM, and I'm co-host of Toby and Chilli in the Morning. I'm from the DMV, and I have been working in radio since 1993 and in the DC area since 1996.
Hello, everyone. I am Riley Couture. I am co-host of your morning show on Hot 99.5. I have been in radio around the country for too long, most of my adult life. And I have been here in the DMV area for about 5 years now. Nic, do you want to introduce yourself?
I would be happy to. My name is Nic Cober. My friends call me Nic. I have a lot of titles, but the one that kind of got me here today is I am the founder of the Bow Collective. It is an organization of firecracker entrepreneurs, Black women who have grossed together $250 million. And instead of going out and competing against each other, we're coming together to go get more money and to bring awareness to the disparities that women in business face. Happy to be here.
Patty?
Hi, Patty Pierleonardi with PMSI, Pest Management Services, and Firefly Cellars. I'm a woman-owned pest control company for over 30 years. And during COVID, we decided to buy a winery. So, bugs and wine. That's kind of my life right now.
Cecilia?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Cecilia Hodges. I am Executive Vice President and the Regional President for M&T Bank, responsible for Greater Washington and the state of Virginia. M&T is a full-service commercial bank, 13th largest bank in the country right now, with a presence all along the East Coast. We do a lot of lending to small businesses, middle market businesses, and obviously on the retail side, all types of services to families, as well as wealth services. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you, ladies. It's awesome to be here with you, especially celebrating International Women's Month. So we've probably all started from way further away from where we are now in our businesses and our ventures. So I was just curious, when you guys started, and I'll start with you, Nic, but everyone can answer. Was there something that you feared would happen that almost stopped you from getting into your prospective field?
That's a great question. So I'll give you the long story short, a billion things. But I am originally from the Bay Area, Oakland, California. And when I was a little girl, I wanted to be in you all seats. I really wanted to be a news anchor person, but I was so shy, just, this oxymoron, so shy. So I hedged my bets. I was like, I'll never be able to get a job. So I went to law school, of all things. Very, very crazy backup plan. But I came out to DC, graduated from law school, and went the traditional legal route. And then the economy tanked and, actually it was around 9/11 and I got laid off. I did the safe thing, thought I would avoid, lack of security. And here I am at the fork in the road that was not in the plan. So I really said, instead of going into something else that I didn't want and trying to be conservative, I wanted to be bold. And I went the entrepreneurship route. And I started my first business. It's a cool story. It's kind of crazy, but I went from being a lawyer to owning a hair salon and day spa chain in Washington, DC. But I will tell you, and I know that, we have some moms on the call here, there was a real pivotal time there, right? I was recently divorced. I'm working this job that I really hate, but I'm trying to pay my bills. And it literally happened within the same week. I had like a court hearing with my ex and we were bickering. Anybody who's been divorced can relate. We were bickering on some foolishness. And the court said if I had to make a decision today, I would grant custody to the father because of the mother's demanding work schedule. Now, this was not even 20 years ago. And I was paralyzed with fear. I'm like, oh my God, I'm working this job and it's being held against me. And literally that next week, I was let go because they said I wasn't dedicated enough at work. And so again, this was 1990. I mean, no, oh gosh, I think it was like, just around 2000. And so you think that we've come a long way, but those were some really, challenging times. But I had great support with my family, my parents, and they said, go for it. And I started down the road of entrepreneurship, and I've been here. This is my second business. I've been doing it for 2 decades now.
Bravo to that. Bravo. Cecilia, what about you?
Well, I started in commercial real estate, and at the time that was so heavily male dominated. And when I first entered the commercial real estate realm, I was constantly left out of everything. Everyone I worked with was male, primarily older males. They went out golfing all the time. I didn't golf. They'd go out drinking in the bars at night. I was a young single woman. I wanted no part of that. So it was really, really hard to fit in. And it was challenging because I felt like I was never going to get anywhere because I was the office wife, right? When a client came in, I was the one to take the coats and grab the coffee. And it just really wasn't looked at seriously. But I'm a pretty self-motivated and driven person. And I decided that I was going to prove them wrong. And I worked really hard, probably 3 times harder than they were working, to establish that I could do this and try to establish my own personal brand and expertise within the industry so that I did gain the respect and credibility of the men. At the time, it was almost exclusively male dominated back when I was first entering the industry. So I think just determination deterred me from getting down about the lack of respect that I was given in those early years of my career.
Inspirational to say the least. Mm-hmm. And Patty, what about you?
Well, no, I did not grow up wanting to be around bugs and rats and everything else. That kind of was put on me through my father-in-law, who started the business, and then my husband and I bought it from him. So when we decided to purchase the business, then of course you're kind of all in, like it or not, right? And my personality, I was an executive in retail before this. So I opened retail stores up and down the East Coast. So I already had that organizational, go get it kind of attitude, always had. I had 2 superhero parents. So that was just how I was brought up. That's all I know. So when we bought the pest control, it was like, let's do this, let's get in there and do it. There wasn't really any fear because I really didn't know what I was getting into, honestly. But once we started and once I saw the potential, and then there was so much to do with it at that time because, buying it from my father-in-law, he was a little old school, right? So he was a little conservative, to say the least, on risk taking. And I'm kind of the opposite. So I was like, let's do this and let's do that and let's do this and let's become partners with sports teams. Like, nobody did that. So they all looked at me like I was crazy. I guess that would be an obstacle a little bit because I did it anyway. And, in the pest control industry, that's clearly a male dominated industry. So, but I love that. I think it's great. I love going in and having conversations where they're looking at me like, who are you? And what are you doing here? And this is pest control. And it's like, I know, that's why I'm here, So I love it. I enjoy it. And gaining respect is huge, being a woman in a male dominated industry. And then, moving to the winery, of course, that happened over COVID. And that was more of a passion project and a legacy project for me. I'm on my back 9, so I got to grind while I can grind. And I have 3 little granddaughters. So I got to set things up for my kids and my granddaughters while I can do it. And so that's more of a passion project. PMSI is still my heart and soul, but the winery is way more fun. Yeah,
we look forward to visiting it one day.
Yeah, we need to.
On International Women's Day itself, Toby and I asked our female entrepreneurs and boss ladies in the audience to give us one piece of advice for somebody who's listening, who's just on the cusp of making that leap into branching out on their own or making that climb. And we asked what that advice would be. And one call in particular stands out. And I would like for you to follow up with one strong piece of advice for somebody who's on the fence about going for it. This woman is a vice president in a tech company, which is a male-dominated field as well. And she said, when the world opens back up and when you're back at the office again, and there's meetings in conference rooms, when you walk into that conference room, you always notice chairs at the table and chairs on the outside of the table. From this day forward, you sit at the table along with everybody else, and you never are afraid to speak up because your voice matters. Because oftentimes we try to make ourselves smaller. We don't want to be like seen. We want to be under the radar. She said, no, sit at the table with all the other big boys. And I loved that. So we'll start with you, Cecilia. Someone's watching right now and she's kind of like, I don't know, should I? It's not a definite paycheck. What's your advice for her?
Well, I don't think there's one best piece of advice. There's so many terrific pieces of advice that I've gotten over the years, but you absolutely have to understand your own value and be your own advocate. So many women take a pass on opportunities because maybe there are 10 requirements and they have 8, but they think they're not qualified because they don't have 10. Whereas if a man has 2 of the 10, he is the ideal candidate for the job. So have confidence in yourself and your ability, and really take on those stretched opportunities. You have to be in charge of creating your own luck. And if you work hard, if you bring your authentic self to the job and you demonstrate servant leadership, I think good things happen to good people who work hard.
Patty, what would you say?
Vision and manifestation is huge to me. And 100%. And, people that know me know this. They've heard me say this 1,000 times. And if you have, 100% confidence in yourself and passion in what you want to do, and you love it, and you can see that vision, 100% go for it. 100%. Because if you have that passion and you work through it and you show it and people see that, you're going to be successful. There's no other option. So I believe in that. Now, if you're on the cusp and you're less confident or you're not really sure or you don't have the support from others, then you're going to have to weigh that option a little bit and reach inside and go, do I have that drive to make this happen without that support? Can I do it on my own? That's the question I would ask. If you need support, get it. If you think you can do it on your own, go for it. As long as you have that vision, manifest it for yourself. It happens. I'm telling you.
Put it on that vision board, right?
I'm so all about that manifesting. Yes.
Yes.
And Nic, what would you add?
So I, for this decade, I've been a consultant, a business consultant, and I've also worked, I had the pleasure of serving as a presidential appointment to the National Women's Business Council. We're an advisory council to Congress, the SBA, and the White House on women in business issues. And so access to capital was the subcommittee that I served on. And it is a real deal, right? So you do have to figure out, I am very much about having a plan. I'm very much, about manifestation. But either you got to have some money to go out and find clients, or you got to have the clients first and then bootstrap yourself. I think that part is understated, but the vision will keep you motivated through the ups and downs, right? And it'll keep your heart in the right place because, every entrepreneur knows that there are those down days, there are COVID, there are these unexpected things. So that heart and that vision keep you going. But the money and your clients are the things that are going to sustain you and scale you. And that's what I really focus on. And, you know, us being here in the DMV area, we have a lot of great people that work for the government. And I have seen $1 million businesses formed from those very government employees that take the government with them as a client, and they start out knowing they've already perfected their trade, they're very seasoned, and then they're strategic and say, hey, I can basically, you know, come out on my own, give the government a better, you know, bottom line, if you will, by hiring me directly. And they have been able to use that, multiply that, and be very successful.
I love that. So a question I had for you ladies is one that I've had to toil with myself for many years because we've all made mistakes, right? And one of the best pieces of advice one of our talent coaches, consultants ever gave me was, don't ever stay in a job or position for more than 2 years when you know it's not right for you. I ignored that advice at one point and stayed for around 5 years. And I think for me, if there was such a thing as regret, you know, because you learn from regret, that would have been mine. So my question to you ladies is there something along the line that you incurred that you could do differently today if you had the chance to do over? Patty, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I have 2 children, grown children now, but working on this business from the get-go takes a lot of work, right? You have to pour yourself into it. And the time, my children were not that old. And so it was very hard to do what you had to do to build this business and be a mom of 2 small children and 2 very active children in sports and all of the school things that are involved. And looking back, I probably could have managed my time better. You know, I had to drag them along with me to certain places, and not that they really complained. It's more of a mom guilt thing right now, even though they're older. It's just like, oh, you know, I could have this, or I could have that, or I didn't have to bring them with me to that thing that they probably hated. Or, you know, it's more a me thing than it is them, because they gained knowledge in the business from it. But, you know, it's that mom guilt that we carry, right? When we're trying to do everything. So if I could change something, I would try to probably figure that one out a little better, do a better job at that life business balance with smaller children. But to say, you know, to say the least, they're both working at both companies now, and they got their knowledge from running around with me all over the place. So, I mean, there's pros and cons, but me as a mom, you know, that was my biggest thing, was just trying to find that balance and making sure it was the best for my children, yet grow the business. It's very, very tough.
Why you got to make me tear up right now? Because like, I have a 1-year-old and an almost 7-year-old, and I feel the exact same way. So that one hit me right there in the feels. What about you, Cecilia?
Well, mom guilt is definitely a thing, and I feel it too, you know, every day. And my kids get dragged to a lot of things as well. But, you know, I think looking back early on in my career, my biggest regret is that because I worked in that male-dominated industry, early on, I didn't have any senior women leaders to look up to that were help, you know, in mentoring me. And I did discover that a few years into my career, and that made all the difference for me. That makes all the difference to me today. So I think it's really important that young women get involved in industry organizations and develop those networks. Look to people who have already been there, done that, and ask for their very honest feedback and coaching. You need somebody that's going to be real with you and give you that kick in the pants and help push you over the edge to take on that next assignment or that next challenge. And sometimes when you've just had a bad day and you need somebody to vent to and ask advice to, I feel that I would have accelerated much more quickly in my career if I had had that earlier on. And I think it's really important for us all to have that network of women that we can rely on and learn from, and that then once you get that, you need to pay it forward. And we all need to pull as we climb to help those coming up behind us.
Put that on a t-shirt. We all need to pull as we climb. I love that. Nic, what about you?
Well, I am a mom. I have a 24-year-old son and I have a 14-year-old. So Riley, this is for you. Let the guilt go, girl, and add the girl. We all waste so much time thinking we're going to screw our kids up if we do go down this road or we go down this road. You literally can only do what you can with the facts that you have, number one. And number two, those kids grow up. My oldest son is in law school. My youngest son is, in honors English, although he hates it, but he's living his best life. And there is a benefit to children seeing their parents, particularly their mom, balanced, that they are not the center of the world all the time. They get to be independent. They start to develop some self-resiliency. Those are the traits that are critical. And so I look back, and yes, when I was slugging my kids around and, one was in the day spa and all that, I doubted myself. I regret feeling that instead of being present in what I was doing, because I really enjoyed my career. I really enjoyed putting that business together. And when your kids see you happy, that's a whole nother skill set that you are developing for them, to see you as a balanced woman, a balanced person who has likes and dreams and hopes. I think that is what we should all aspire to do, and letting that guilt go. And then, Cecilia, I agree with you 3000% about women coming together and being their own, and saving themselves, collaborating, sharing. I think there is this false narrative that women cannot get along, that we are, everybody has different challenges, but I think if we reshape that narrative and be a support for each other and be each other's advocates and sponsors, right? As we're moving up that chain, talk about women that are not in the room in a favorable manner, and put your credibility on the line for someone else because someone did that for you. I think that is something that we need to start indoctrinating ourselves to do, and building those sisterhoods, and getting more of us coming along instead of, Cecilia, we know we're always the one person in the room that is successful. I don't want to be the only one. I want to bring everyone, and then we'll see, I think, systemic change in having more women in positions of power.
I love that, because instead of competing for the chair, you're creating more seats.
You're creating the table.
Yeah, you're creating the table. So let's end on from regret to reward, and this will be sort of how we wrap it up. What in your position or has been the most rewarding thing about what you do today? You got to where you are, the pinnacle. What's the most rewarding thing about your job? And perhaps you're the one who created that. We'll start with you, Cecilia.
The most rewarding thing for me is seeing my team grow, seeing my people grow and develop. Just yesterday, I was in the office and a young woman came in. I had to fight for her to get the position that she was just promoted into. And she said, I know I wasn't qualified for the job today, but I promise you, I'm going to be the best person in this position you've ever had. So just giving people opportunities and watching them succeed. And the other thing that is really important to me is in my current position, I'm responsible for the M&T Bank Foundation and all the money that we give here in the area, and the partnerships that we've created with local not-for-profits and helping do good throughout the community, really investing the dollars that we've earned in this region back into the community is also something that gives me a lot of personal satisfaction and gratification. And I think is really important as a leader today, because younger people really care about the culture of their company that they work for, and they want to be associated with an organization that's doing good and making the world a better place. So I think just growing the team and doing good are the things that I'm most proud of and love most about my job right now.
Oh, I love that. And Nic, what about you?
Same thing. I'm in the private sector and the nonprofit space. And, over my career, 25-year career, I've met so many awesome small business people. I've been able to train and grow them and see them hit that $1 million mark is symbolic for me. That means that they have full-time employees, they have years of experience, they are having systems. That's very rewarding. I'm a coach, but I'm really a cheerleader and a fan. And, and the fact that I am able to, at this point in my life, bring a lot of people together and be supportive and try to look at things differently. Glass half full girl. I'm a glass half full girl. And I think that energy kind of shoots out there. I'm very proud of that.
And Patty?
I guess I'm really, really super proud of the relationships that I've built over the years, and the group of employees that I have at PMSI for sure. Our average tenure is like 18 years.
Wow.
So we have truly family is who works at PMSI. Not just my family. We have brothers that work together, father and daughters that work together, cousins. We really have a group of family that have become one giant family, that we've watched, graduate high school, get married, have children. Children are now going to college, that kind of thing. So that's very rewarding. I love it. But along with our employee family, we have established a ton of great relationships over the years with, commercial accounts that we have, our partnerships in the sports industry. We talk about the Redskins, the Commanders, and the Baltimore Ravens and the Washington Capitals and the Wizards and the Mystics and Virginia Tech and all of the partnerships that we have and the great people that work with us. And it's rewarding and it's respectful. And that is very important to me, to gain the respect that I've gained in this industry over the years, to have great relationships, and to be able then to be on panels like this, to be on the host committee of Fight for Children, to be on, board of directors of Youth for Tomorrow. I mean, these are all things that are very near and dear to me, and that I can then show my 3 granddaughters, what their grandma can do, and hope that they can take that and be able to do the same thing as they grow. So those are all things I'm very proud of.
Well, thank you so much. All of you gave such great advice and shared such intimate stories. Certainly inspired me and made me cry.
Yes, same. Did not think I was going to shed a tear at this interview, but I'm glad I did.
So we really do appreciate you. And hopefully we can make this a little annual event on this month every year.